The best coaches in the game, we really ain't playing. We regroup up in the Slack chat where the coaches debrief. We be piecing these puzzles, occupy the chunk of the pie. Ain't no lie when we hit the block, helmets, casket is top.
All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the DFS Army Bowl Call Waiver Wire Podcast, Week 5, NFL 2020, Corona Unlimited Edition. My name is Kevin Allen, a.k.a. The Geek. I'm your host, and I've got the man with the plan, the Encyclopedia Footballica himself, the master of the bold call and the bald call, season-long Sez here. What's up, Sez?
What's up, man? It's always good to have you on the Waiver Wire podcast. I know I see you all week grinding with the DFS stuff, but I got to think in some way doing the Waiver Wire is helpful to DFS just because, hey, who are the long shot guys with a pulse? Am I right in that assessment?
Let me tell you something. The waiver wire list each week translates over to DraftKings as the, quote, super sleepers, the cheapies, the turds, as I like to call them. This is where you find your value plays in DFS. So that's why I like that. I continue to play season-long fantasy football, and I continue to pay close attention to the waiver wire, looking for these hidden gems, these guys that are going to come in at super cheap pricing. And we'll have a few of those on this. Plus, I play. So I like coming on this show because I want to crush my leagues. You know, we're in a league together. I'm 4-0. That's how I do it.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So
I'm not mentioning the other leagues that we're in together that I'm.
When you do so many leagues, you're going to be good in some, bad in others, and you just try to have some fun, make some dough along the way. But just reminding everyone what the purpose of this podcast each week is we're going to try to do a tight 25 minutes, a tight half hour, and just give you the best pickups for your season-long fantasy football league, and we're going to suggest bid amounts. Remember, now, also, I want you to adjust the flavor of the bids to your league. You know if people are aggressive. You know your specific situation. You know if adding that running back is a luxury or a necessity for you. So we're just going to give general bids, give ranges, so to speak, all in plays. Is this a 5% or a 10% or a 50% type of guy? But then I want you to adjust it for your league.
And I'm going to say, not a ton to love this week on the waivers. It's just interesting that nothing really popped up as a supreme buy in most leagues, but it depends on the size of your league. And there are some players to take a sniff at, and there are some players to get a little bit of maybe a week early exposure to. So we're not going to be blowing our FAAB on anyone this week like we might have a couple weeks ago on Mike Davis. But there are some players that are interesting, and if they're still around, they're who you want to start to pick up. I'd also like to get a little segment going on maybe like a potential, there we go, some streaming defenses. AKA, who's playing the Jets this week? That's like streaming defenses 101.
Yeah.
Sure. Streaming defenses 101. Streaming defenses 201 is, all right, the guys playing the Jets are taken. Who's playing the Washington team this week?
Or who's playing the Giants, right?
That's playing the Giants this week.
Listen to this. It's Dallas and the Giants are playing each other.
Ooh, can't play Dallas defense, even against the Giants.
The Jets and playing Cardinals. And, I have it in our waiver wire sheet, which is up on DFS Army in the season-long tab, and Arizona is my number one streamer. But let's start where everyone always likes to start. It's running backs, and, oh, yes, more running backs. And, Geek, who doesn't need a running back? You had Austin Eckler. He was about to go crazy. And now he's going to be out. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't. They say 4 to 6 weeks, but I wouldn't be surprised if he gets shut down for the rest of the year. I'm debating whether to hold him in leagues where I have a short bench and an IR. Kenyon Drake has underperformed. You're goosey about starting him. Nick Chubb went out.
Kenyon Drake is fine, to be clear.
But you're not starting him with confidence. You're starting him with different expectations now.
Well, yeah, he's gone from first round pick to an acceptable RB2/flex play. He's really not performed, but he was still getting all the touches. But he's just in a timeshare. I'm going to think about who I put him alongside, but it's your yardage and touchdown types. Like better than Adrian Peterson. Let's put it that way. Like he's. I need to think a little bit long and hard, but he's RB2 level at this point. We thought we were getting an RB1. They don't throw to him.
I'm pulling up some rankings, and right now Drake is RB 35, so he's like barely startable. As far as he's a low end RB 3. Players that are ranked higher than him right now, as far as fantasy points: Latavius Murray, DeAndre Swift, Malcolm Brown, Nyheim Hines. Obviously, had that big week 1. David Montgomery. These are players that are all higher end RB3s. Players that we didn't expect to be in the RB2 range, low end RB2. Obviously, Rex Burkhead, Myles Gaskin, Antonio Gibson ascending.
Antonio Gibson's on the rise.
Yeah. All right, but let's give the people what they want. Yeah. Who are the guys that you're going to pick up this week? Now, I'm just going to give you the bucket of them. All right, I'll show you how I have them.
We've got to jump on the biggest injury news of the week. The two big ones you mentioned: Austin Eckler. Obviously, the backup Kelly is now RB1. What's that?
He's owned already.
You can't pick him up on waivers, but Justin Jackson is available, and he's going to be. Now you got to kind of get Justin Jackson on your team, because I don't think that the Chargers are going to run one guy out there. They've never done it, so expect Justin Jackson to finally have some value. That's what I would say with that. The biggest one is Nick Chubb going down. That's a big injury. Kareem Hunt, again, now elevated to RB1 status. So for DFS purposes, we're going to readjust our thinking about Kareem Hunt. But backing him up is D'Ernest Johnson. Now, Kareem Hunt, always questionable, kind of like also a guy that could get hurt at any moment. You've got to get D'Ernest Johnson on your bench. I think he'll have immediate value. He got 12 carries last week, backing up Chubb. So they're not just going to go Kareem Hunt 90%. It's going to be D'Ernest Johnson out there. He got a lot of carries last week.
Yeah, I mean, and every week Cleveland's not going to be playing Dallas either, so it's going to be tougher matchups. But I agree. Big Ern Johnson. He is one of the guys you're going to want to bid on. Justin Jackson, and Damian Harris looked good to me last night. I know he's not going to catch a ton of passes, but if he runs hard like that, he should be what we thought Sony Michel was going to be. So how do you rank those guys? How would you not rank them? How would you prioritize them as waiver wire pickups? Who would be the one that you're most interested in of the three?
Damian Harris, man, he did look good, but it's still the Patriots, and it's still a 3-man show. I do think Damian Harris has like a sneaky, give him like a 10% outside shot of winning the job based on talent, but I don't really think I don't expect it, especially with how well Rex Burkhead is unfortunately playing. Like, it's just the problem over there. I think D'Ernest, these are all mediocre. Chase Edmonds is the best of them.
Well, all right. And Chase Edmonds is probably not available in your league, but it could be. I know, like, if he was dropped because he had a couple down weeks, yes, I would say Chase Edmonds is the number one guy. If he's available in your league, we put him atop the waiver wire sheet just in case, because not only he's going to be playable no matter what, and then obviously we already saw that he has got some upside of Drake if there's a continued problem. Yeah,
to be clear, we're not like saying I'm not starting Chase Edmonds this week in DFS. If Drake is out there, Edmonds is a barely startable flex play, barely, if in an emergency on a deep league. But we got a little reminder this week that if Drake goes down, he is RB1 legit. So
yeah, it's a top 15 RB,
very exciting player without Drake there.
So so that's why I would say Edmonds if he's available, Damian Harris, who's actually gonna, he'll probably have 8 to 9 to 10 carries a week. So I would say he's probably the number one. And then D'Ernest Johnson looked good, but again, it was with the Cowboys. They were a sieve, letting people run all over the place, and he's more of a backup complementary player. And then you correctly identified Justin Jackson. Kelly's fumbled twice in 2 weeks. You know how coaches think about fumbling. It's the minute they miss a pass block, especially a rookie, it could be lights out for a while. So those would be the players for sure that I would prioritize.
I just thought of one other that might be really important. Did Carlos Hyde go on IR, or he was just out this week?
I think he was dinged up. He did not go on IR. But are you thinking about Travis?
On IR?
You thinking about Travis Homer?
Well, I mean, Homer's look pretty decent out there. It's not. These are injury guys. These are guys like Chris Carson is an injury waiting to happen. Like, let's be real. So, if Hyde had a little more definitive injury going on than Homer. I don't want to wait. I don't want to store a guy on my bench needing 2 injuries ahead of him to be useful. And I don't mind doing it for one.
Yeah, and we're not going to give you that cheap advice which says, "Hey, stash that guy, stash everybody." Right? I wish my bench was 15 so I could stash all these guys. You got 5 spots on your bench. If you're in a deep league that has 8 or 9 or 10, these guys are gone. So those are definitely the players. The other ones of interest, Geek, Keyshawn Vaughn caught some passes. Ronald Jones, so he couldn't. He's not proficient in that area. Once again, I think he dropped a couple. Is interesting to me. Reggie Bonifant, while Christian McCaffrey's out, got some run. Scored. I think he even scored a touchdown. Or he had some.
He had a 15-point game. He had a nice day. I do not expect him to do that.
And the last guy was that before the COVID bye for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Anthony McFarland ascended as looking like the backup and usurping Benny Snell. If you have space, just a dead spot on the roster, he's one of those $0 bid guys. I would be interested that you could easily cut. That could easily be a $60 guy next week if something happened to James Conner. So he's someone in the deepest of leagues where if you have that extra spot, I mean, you're scraping for running backs here at the end, Vaughn, Bonifant, and McFarland. So let's just move on to the wide receivers. Geek, it goes without saying, if T. Higgins is on the waiver wire, I mean, usually you're not going to put a $20% bid on a wide receiver, but it just looks like that this is a player that's here to stay. He's obviously cuckolding AJ Green at this point.
I think he's cuckolding Ross, and I think AJ Green is cuckolding himself, bro. That ain't T. Higgins. That's fucking AJ Green just being bad now.
He looks like to me. He looks like, I know you're not a huge fan of a healthy Cortland Sutton, but that's who it looks like to me. When Cortland Sutton's playing well, that's the type of game that I see with T. Higgins. If he's out there for some reason, I think this is going to be only get better and better and better. I would absolutely advocate a 35-40% bid, and I never do that on a wide receiver because they're just, you just don't know what you have. It's not like projectable touches each week, but I think he's a rest of season play.
He is. There were a lot of rookie wide receivers. Justin Jefferson is another one. Jackson Jefferson.
But he's owned. He was the number 1 waiver ad last week.
Yeah, he's already owned now, but he was one of these second round wide receivers that looked good. There was a group.
Oh, he was Justin Jefferson was drafted in the first round.
Oh, he was a first rounder.
Yeah,
okay. He was. So, but of the sexy group of rookies, he was in there. T. Higgins was in there too, but he was kind of towards the back end. He was taken a little bit later.
T. Higgins was the first pick of the second round, so he was like the 33rd overall pick.
Yeah, but no, I mean like there were 5 first round wide receivers that were taken ahead of him. But what I'm saying is, the reason, and this is great, I love this. This goes back to AJ Brown last year. We saw the same exact thing. We didn't want Higgins not because we looked at the player and said this guy isn't a really great talent. We did. Listen, we were talking about him before the draft. This is a guy. I hope the Jets get him. The whole thing. Of course, the Jets didn't get him, but no. The thought was, listen, you got this team. They got Tyler Boyd. They got AJ Green on the outside. You've got a couple other pieces, Ross and Tate, and a couple other pieces, and there's no room for T. Higgins. But the situation has changed. Okay, AJ Green is showing himself to be a shell of his former self.
Yeah, I mean, he's 32 years old. That happens to 32-year-old receivers. You remember when Andre Johnson turned 32? It was over. It was over.
Dez. It's not all of them. It's not Dez Bryant. How about Calvin Johnson? Andre Johnson. This happens to these guys at this age, especially coming off an injury.
Yeah, and that's
not
why
everybody's Jerry Rice.
Yeah, and that's why in the DFS Army Slack chat today, I've gotten a lot of Julio Jones questions. It could very possibly be over for Julio Jones. 32 years old, hamstring aggravation. That's a death sentence in fantasy. I absolutely recommend getting out of Julio if you can. I mean, forget dynasty; he's going to die on your roster. But if you have a chance to take 70 cents on the dollar, if you could trade him for Hunter Renfrow, I would consider it at this point.
I got a flood of how did you knows because I did a video breaking down the game last night, and I said, guys, I did the playoff, the 2-game slate, and I said, guys, listen, just to be very, very clear, Julio Jones is like operating on a hamstring that could snap like a rubber band at any second. Like this dude, after 2 plays, can be seen limping off. Do not play him with confidence because he's going to get hurt. So. And then it happened in that game. I didn't expect it to happen that day, but this with Julio. We talked about it in the preseason. Also, these guys who have these soft tissue issues, especially an old dude like Julio, who every year is constantly questionable every single week. We saw him come out and be a decoy. That's what they're going to do. That's like what they did with Calvin Johnson at the end with the Lions. They were just rolling him out as a decoy with the bad knee and just occupy the best cornerback because you have the name brand. And then they were just eventually they just realized, listen, this guy's finished. And that's what's going to be with Julio. It's going to be, they're going to realize this guy's finished. He is. It's just the injury is too frequent with him. I have hopes for someone like Will Fuller because he's young. But with the guy who's in his 30s and he has this all the time, it's not getting better.
Yeah, just before we continue, just want to tell everyone out there watching, thanks for watching live. I see we got a nice little crowd piled in. And on top of that, anyone on the replay, that the Bold Call Waiver Wire podcast is brought to you by a great props for cash site called No House Advantage. As you can see if you're watching on the video, we have them plashed on the screen. We really do believe in this company. They are, if you like prop betting, which is absolutely the future of sports gambling, go over to No House Advantage. You get to choose your props in across a whole slew of sports. Use deposit code ARMY and get up to a $20 match. Again, there's No House Advantage. They are they have a great app on any platform, or you can go right on the website. And what my favorite part about it is that you could prioritize which props get the most points. So if you feel strongly about a long shot prop, you can make that your higher point one. No House Advantage, and we'll talk about them a little bit more later. But let's continue on with the wide receivers, Geek. Laviska Shenault and Tim Patrick were the other two that I thought should be prioritized. Now, Tim Patrick's been in the NFL for a couple years. He's on the Denver Broncos. Cortland Sutton's out. KJ Hamler, the rookie, again, he hadn't done anything yet, but he's out. Jerry Jeudy's there. He's the rookie. Tim Patrick's been good in little stints. Are you interested in him? Say you're just shuffling through wide receiver threes, Geek. You can't figure it out. You play Anthony Miller when he gets to 0. Then you pick up somebody else and they kind of fail out or flame out on you.
Let me put it like this. I don't love the passing game for the Broncos. I don't love the quarterback situation. I don't love any of that. But Tim Patrick is not a 0. So he's better than a 0, right? If I have to lift him on a scale of like 0 to like Russell Gage, he's not as good as Gage. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but he's going to get more. He's probably going to get 6 or 8 targets floor per game at this point. I mean, he showed what he could do with 10 targets.
It's just him, Jeudy, and Noah Fant on that team.
No, and Noah Fant's out for a while. Noah Fant's out for a while.
Even better. So that's where, by the way, in that game, that's where Tim Patrick really started to take over the game. Yes. Jerry Jeudy's very good too, but he's on somebody's roster. Tim Patrick is available, and he's a WR2, a starter on a team that's going to have to throw. They're always going to be playing from behind. That's a good pickup. It's a good. He's playable.
And it's a boring pickup that, again, in a normal week with a receiver like, say, Laviska Shenault, for example, he popped again, right? So he's going to garner $23 bids. Tim Patrick could probably be had for under $20. You could probably put $18 and just get him, right?
I think less. I think you're betting like 5 or 6.
Right. And that's what I have, man. I have
no one's bidding for Tim Patrick.
Right. I have him as a $7 bid in the DFS Army bid sheet.
That's right. No one's bidding for him. You'll just get him. So he's an easy pickup.
Do you like him or Shenault better? Him or Shenault?
I like him better than Shenault, but I think Jacksonville wide receivers are going to be so volatile.
Yep. The other guy
not going to be happy with one of them.
Yeah. The other guy I had on here that he had 80 yards and a touchdown was Scotty Miller. It's like we don't know if Gronk was like limping off. You know who? I heard a funny analogy.
O.J. Howard is done for the season.
O.J. Howard done for the season. At least he produced for you. If you started him last week, at least he produced for you. He had the kindness to produce for you before he got injured for the year.
Unlike Gronk, didn't produce.
Yeah. No, I saw this morning. I was listening to the Breakfast Table podcast, and I saw Scott Pianowski said something. He said Gronk every time he gets up and walks off the field looks like Fred Sanford. Remember how Fred Sanford used to walk with a limp? I thought that was a good analogy there.
That's vintage. Delaney Walker in his final years. Every time he'd be tackles, like 2 teammates would have to run over to pull him up off the ground. Yeah. He looked like he had absolutely no shot of standing up on his own. He needed 2 guys to pull him up.
So Scotty Miller worth a, would you put, I mean, like a $5, $6, $4 bid, same situation?
It's the same. I mean, I think you got to compare, like, these are all the same guy. Cole Beasley, Scotty Miller, Tim Patrick. It's a guy who's playable on your roster in a PPR. So if you're needing a wide receiver that probably is not much of a touchdown scorer, all three of these guys are fine. Yeah. I don't know if I could even favor one over the others. They're all fine.
So it's one of those situations where you just put the same bid on each one of them, prioritize them to your flavor, to your liking, and whatever one you get, you get.
Yeah,
the other guys
the names are Chanot, Scotty Miller, and Cole Beasley. They're all the same guy.
Yeah. I also added Gabriel Davis and Zach Pascal. Both of those probably are very low end options. But Gabriel Davis looks like a player. I mean, he's only a rookie, and he probably would need an injury to one of the Buffalo receivers ahead of him. But at least it's someone that's on the field, and that's all you can ask when you get that low for a $0 bid, a $1 bid.
On this show, do we talk about like a dynasty stash? Because that's really what that is. I don't want him on my season long team unless it's a 16.
Not yet. Yeah, there's a chance.
Yeah, I don't want him, but I don't mind stashing him on my dynasty team if I'm, if I have that kind of a team. Sure, he was like a 4th round rookie pick in your dynasty league, probably dropped already, so you can get him.
All right. So when we move over to tight end, this is an interesting conversation. So Robert Tonyan ascends to the top of the board. He obviously, it's just amazing that Aaron Rodgers for years just never connected with the tight end. He's had great tight ends, athletic tight ends on his roster. He's Jermichael Finley.
What did he do after the Broncos?
He got injured out of the league, but he was one of these super tight ends. Jimmy Graham wasn't complete toast when he was there. I'm just saying, like, they've had other tight ends. There was another guy, Mercedes Lewis, when he was.
No, you're thinking there was another guy there that for a couple of years we played him every week and he never did shit.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
But point is that.
Well, no, point is that this is the guy, the one that we just totally no one even thought about. I had him on a 25-man dynasty roster and cut Robert Tonyan a couple weeks ago. Yeah. I was like, well, this is garbage. I cut him after week 1. He scored every week since. Now, here's the thing. All right, let's talk season-long strategy for a minute. There are teams that have Jared Cook, and it's just been a disaster. You have O.J. Howard. It's a disaster. You're just not happy with your tight end. Now, Green Bay is going on a bye. It's going to be tough to hold them through a bye. If you can hold them through a bye, no problem.
It will not be. I'm going to tell you something. You're looking at this guy wrong. This is a must add if you need a tight end. This is borderline empty a lot of FAAB situation. I don't care that it's a bye. The bye week.
Good.
I'm not.
We're getting into it here. Here we go. Let's just give someone perspective because I like where you're going with this. Rest of season: Robert Tonyan or Mike Gesicki?
I'm still on Gesicki. But that's where Tonyan is. Okay, I have Gesicki higher than. If you ask me, rest of the season, Tonyan or Austin Hooper?
No. No one's asking that. No one's asking.
Why are you gonna fucking? The guy I love who hasn't broken out. I'm holding Gesicki.
That's the point. You have Mike Gesicki. You saw a big week 2. It went great, but all the other weeks have been killing you. 2 points, 1 catch, that kind of stuff. So you're in the market for a tight end. If you have the Mike Gesicki, you're not, like your other positions, you look good, just say. And you have Mike Gesicki.
I refuse to drop him for this guy.
Not drop, but maybe you can cut off, you added Jordan Wilkins on a recommendation or Gus Edwards the week before. You have someone. How much FAAB are you going in on with, say you have, say out of $100 budget, you have about $68 left, or just say percentages. What percentage of your FAAB are you going to go to get Tonyan if you absolutely need a tight end?
All right, let me give a little sneaky approach here. This is good stuff. It's a bye week. And the vast majority of a casual league, what they do is they sort by expected fantasy points this upcoming week when they're looking for waiver plays. For that reason, he's a little bit hidden from your league mates. They're not going to notice it. So if it wasn't a bye week, I'm paying 22% of FAAB to try to get this guy. $22 bid. I like to cross round numbers. You know how I do it. I think it's $22 bid. Get him on my team.
22%. Let's make that clear.
You call it what? $100?
Well, because if you have $60 left, are you still going $20 or are you going 20% of
$20? I don't do percent of how much I have left. It's dollars. Right? So I want to make sure I get him. I want to cross the 20 because your league mates are going to put like 14, 16 as a tight end, not a premium position. They have a tight end. You're the one who needs one, right? They already have one because there are more than 12 good ones. So, but because it's a buy, you might be able to get a little sneaky and grab a Tanyan for $12 to $14. Or, know your league. Know if you have people who scan, who only look for what are the projections for next week, or if you have like a little deeper thinkers who will stash a guy. But Tanyan is real. This Packers team, this is what's very important. Even with Devontae Adams back, they lost Lazard. They lost their whole wide receiver corpse. So at this point, it's just going to be Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones, and Robert Tanyan. And trust me, Martez Valdez-Scantling, not good. He's not good.
You know what it is? Okay, I think he is good, but I think
he's not.
Well, hold on.
He's not good.
He's not a fan. He's good for your real football team. He does make the safeties shift coverage. When a 6'4" guy is running down, he cannot be the number 2. He
care about anything except fantasy scoring.
Right. But I'm just saying he's a good player for the role. He's always been asked to play the role above where his pay grade is. He's always been asked to play, hey, you're going to be the number 2 guy. Hey, he's a deep threat, a Ted Ginn type, a poor man's Ted Ginn.
But like that doesn't
pay the bills for fantasy.
No,
I
that doesn't pay the fantasy bills every week. So Lazard was in this role. Lazard was taking the short patterns. Lazard was the big dude for the possessions. Now it's Bobby Tanyan.
By the way, did you see the league tilting situation in our home league, the one that I play in, that you play in mine, that I'm a commissioner with Robert Tanyan? Did you see all what happened today?
No.
I think the listeners will enjoy this story. Then we'll move back on. So for some reason in Sleeper, Robert Tanyan has dual position eligibility. He's got tight end and wide receiver eligibility. Okay, did not know that myself. Right? I mean, again. It's Robert. So, but in our league, we play with the tight end premium scoring, not 1.5. We give double PPR for tight ends. So Tanyan last night was started in the wide receiver position, but because he is earmarked as a tight end, he received double PPR. So the league was on tilt saying, hey, we know we accept that he's got double position eligibility, but he should, in order to receive that, he should be in the tight end or the flex spot.
I have a solution for this.
One sec. Do you want to hear my ruling first? And then you can give me your... Yeah. My ruling was, in principle, you are correct. But since we didn't make a rule about it, I have to let the double PPR go in the wide receiver position.
This is what I would have done. It's tough to make...
It's an interesting one, right?
It is interesting. I've never come across this. I would have said, if you've started 2 tight ends and this is the third, then no. You only allowed 2 tight ends in this league.
He didn't, though. It was his second tight end, but he started
so then he had a wide receiver, something else in that flex spot.
Correct.
Then he just should have flipped it. That's just a matter of like where you put the player. No, the point.
No, it was a running back in that position. He couldn't have put the guy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see an argument to that should not count.
Right, but you cannot do that because the rule was never made. You can't just do it after the fact.
I think you have to go with whatever the app allowed for that one game.
Correct.
And then you say, you know what, going forward, guys, if you use this, you're only allowed to get those double points in the tight end or the flex that allows a tight end spot. If it's a wide receiver spot, you can't.
My instinct.
But he's a tight end. He shouldn't have been allowed to play him.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Sleeper allows it. I mean, it's like you remember a couple years ago, I forget who the player was. I think it was Joe something. He was a quarterback and wide receiver eligible. And
I do remember.
Yeah, he was started in the wide receiver spot, but he was starting at quarterback for the team. And it was pretty crazy. I think I even took advantage of that. And he ended up...
Not Webb for the Giants?
It was Joe Webb. You're right, but it wasn't the Giants, but it was Joe Webb. I think that's the exact name. That's good memory you have there. All right, cool.
I don't know why I have these player names in my brain.
That was really good. All right, other tight ends that I want you to take a look at. We'll get through this quick. Mo Alley Cox, he didn't do it last week, but he had 1 catch for a touchdown, which is great. But he had some yards the week before. He's for real. If you're looking for streaming tight ends, certainly a $4 or $5 bid on him. Eric Ebron might be on your waiver wire if you're desperate at tight end. They had the COVID bye last week, so Ebron is live, and in an absolute dumpster dive, Cameron Brate. He caught a touchdown last week. If you're really in a pinch with O.J. Howard out, you could throw him out there and just hope he does the same thing again. Again, it's a $1, $2 bid at most. And I put Drew Sample on there. Again, anyone else that you feel like should be on that list?
I just want to talk about somebody who you need to put on waivers. If he's still on your team.
Good.
That's Chris Herndon. Get him off your team. He's wasting a space.
Yeah.
He's getting you fucking zeros. The Jets are the worst offense in the league, and this guy who was billed as a pass catching tight end is absolutely not running routes at all. Get him off.
Yeah, can I give you the one counter to, and I agree with you, but can I give you the one counter? Sam Darnold's going to sit this week with the sprained shoulder. Slow Joe Flacco is going to come in, and there is a chance that he just wants to just go short, and Chris Herndon might.
No.
And again, you don't have to do it, and you're giving the correct advice.
The Jets' offensive line cannot block. That he can't run routes.
Yeah,
they need him to fucking pass block.
No, you're right.
There's no chance. No, drop him. And get fucking Robert Tonyan. If you have Chris Herndon,
just take a 0 with Tonyan.
Just fucking get Tonyan this week. Drop Herndon. Take the 0.
Yeah,
and have him for next week.
I have him on a dynasty roster, and I'm even thinking about it there, but I can't do it.
Even in dynasty. I'm not going to drop him in dynasty because the Jets will have a new coaching staff next year.
Okay,
so don't get that crazy.
I heard an interesting thought. I thought I would echo. I heard. I think I heard either Chris Liss say it today on the radio, or someone would say it. And they're talking about now that the like when you're drinking beer at a party, and then you go to the bathroom for the first time. They call it breaking the seal.
Yeah, the seal's broken.
Right? Yeah. So now the coaching firing seal is broken with Bill O'Brien. So
did you see my tweet?
No, I didn't. Did you say something like that?
I wrote. It was something along the lines of like, congratulations to Texan fans that the long nightmare is over. Jets fans, hang in there. It's another week or two. Something like that. Where.
And by the way, I don't know if this was a rumor, but it was going around social media that the Texans, the management, is waiting for Adam Gase to be fired so they could hire him.
No, I don't. No, that's just fake. That's just fake. No, I heard the flip side was that when I wrote that, they were like, "Oh, Gase is next." And like, don't be too excited. It's going to be Bill O'Brien that comes in to replace him. So that's more of a meme than like a real thing.
All right, fair enough. Hey, Superflex wise. Justin Herbert's definitely owned. Kirk Cousins is definitely owned, but Brett Rippon might still be out there. If you're, if you one of the New England quarterbacks might be out there. And in the sneaky, CJ Beathard is certainly out there. If you're desperate, CJ Beathard, even if he gets you 11 to 13, 14 points, that's better than starting a wide receiver there. So, and then for some reason, if you are in quarterback hell in a deep league, a 14-team league, and Tua is out there, I know they said he's not starting this week, but I think this is the hook week. Like from here on out, the first time Fitzpatrick throws one of those terrible interceptions, you could see the cameras cut over and you're going to see Tua jogging out there. So if he's out there in your one QB league, who knows, right? Who knows?
Not the best week for waivers overall. But yeah, I mean, sure, put Tua on your bench. We saw that a rookie can come in and have success when you're talking about Justin Herbert.
By the way, come on, all summer long, I was telling you.
I just want to say this says more than just that, but you were on this guy. You said he's good and that he is a quality talent and he's going to be great. And yes.
And more importantly, he looks good. Like, so even Joe Burrow, with all the expectations at times, I mean, he looks good, but Joe Burrow's like, he's a little like sort of goosey, and you would be too if that pass rusher is coming for you through that Porsche line. Justin Herbert looks like he's in control out there, and it makes you wonder why the Chargers coaching staff didn't see it right away.
I think the Anthony Lynn is this old school mentality. I really do. He's just got that old school, that old school like. Injury doesn't replace a starter and best chance to win. But the reality is you got to play Herbert here, man. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, 6th overall pick. I mean, come on. You got to find out if they're good. That's why I don't understand why they're waiting on Tua. We got to find out if he's good. You cannot squander that rookie contract. Like, pretty much the Jets have squandered the contract. So are we in full agreement here at this point? If the Jets get the number 1 overall pick, you don't even think twice. You take Trevor Lawrence?
No. If you watch the Jets play, and if you're watching Sam Darnold, now I think the Jets ruined him. In fairness,
but whatever it is,
he's not able to. A good quarterback, when you're running open, he
leads you
unleashes. Right, this kid, he can't unleash. He's too hesitant, and I think he's either shell shocked. It's a mental thing with him, but I think he can be fixed But no, if you're the Jets, you'll
move
burn
on.
your food like Florence. You'll run up in your crib like your name is search warrants. You lose all your fucking games, and you draft Trevor Lawrence.
Love it. I love that. Spit and fire right there. Hey, what if you're the Giants and you end up with the number 1 overall pick? You stick with
Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah. So
yes.
is that? I mean, so you just hold Danny Dimes as your.
No.
I think.
What will the Giants do? The next big running back. But what should they do is you take Trevor Lawrence. Today's NFL, this was the problem with all of these picks. And we're learning something. And actually, you posted something great from Chris Liss on Twitter that I pay attention to also.
Yeah.
Where he was talking about how the slide rule has really made a change, or not the slide rule, but the slide rule. The emphasis on the slide rule and teaching the quarterbacks to slide has made a massive difference in the injury potential of these runners compared to the days of yesteryear where, maybe one of these Steve McNair types was coached to fucking sack up and smash your way for the
even
extra
Michael
2 yards.
Vick. Remember, Michael Vick would
Michael
always be
Vick
injured.
Always hurt, always taking big hits. Even RG Thrizzles taking those big hits.
Monster.
So today's NFL, you must have athleticism at the quarterback. But I don't care if you're old school Tom Brady. That's fine. We all remember it. Thank you. It's an era that has passed us by.
Yeah.
It truly is.
That was an interesting article, wasn't it?
It's interesting. But it didn't occur to me the slide component. But what we've already talked about this multiple times, that what we're seeing from Mahomes, what we're seeing with Kyler, we're seeing with Josh Allen, what we're seeing with Dak a little bit.
Even Danny Dimes.
Eber's got a little bit of legs to him. These guys can run, and I made you and I talked about this. We're going to go off a little longer than usual. I want to get into this here.
All right, sure.
You and I talked about this on the Bold Calls in the offseason, and I compared it to MMA, where a fighter doesn't have takedowns as that escape route. With the quarterback, if you don't have the legs, essentially when the play is blown up and big man, large man running at you, you have two options. You can either try to just throw it away or fold up and do the fetal position, right? And take the hit. So when you add the element of escapability to a quarterback, and it's like that said, if he runs for 2 first downs over the course of a game on 3rd and long, that's a monster difference over the course of an entire game.
Absolutely.
Those are 2 occasions where you would have punted away. So again, my MMA comparison are I don't know. No one watches MMA. I get it. But when Conor McGregor fought Nate Diaz and he was starting to gas, right? And he threw everything and this kid just took it all. He tried to go for a tick. He didn't have it. He doesn't have the wrestling so that he can get this escape route of let me go for a takedown and lay on top of this dude for 2 minutes because I'm tired now.
Yeah, I think it's the biggest stark difference, like you said, you highlighted Tom Brady. When it's 3rd and 8 and the defense gets through the line, Tom Brady more or less is just going to throw the ball away. It's 4th and 8, they punt. Whereas someone like Danny Dimes, Carson Wentz, even
Russell
to a degree.
Wilson.
I mean, those are the best at it. Josh Allen, 3rd and 8, the line comes in. They use their escapability, the word that you just chose. I like that, and they're able to keep a drive going. So 1 or 2 of those makes a huge difference in win percentage and fantasies. That keeps your fantasy players on the field. So
and what did I tell you? I said the fact that these types of guys, Cam Newton in the mix as well, of course. Cam Newton is one of the originals. The fact that these types of guys have had so much success, what's going on in high school now, what's going on in college, is they're taking that super athletic kid. They're foregoing the really handsome, like cool guy, white dude. Hate to say it, with the great hair, looks a little like Eber. And they're putting the most athletic kid at the quarterback position because it's needed now. Before, you take the most athletic kid and you'd say, hey, you're fast, you're a wide receiver. You're super fast, you're a linebacker or a running back. Now they're taking the most athletic kid on the team and saying, you are our team leader, you're our quarterback. So instead of just getting these sort of these people, these kids who were put into they're like, it starts in Pop Warner. I feel like I'm fucking just like all over the place. It starts in Pop Warner. Where did they put the kid? He stays in that position for his whole career. So if you're put as a cornerback / wide receiver, that's what you play. And the coach thought that's where I should put my fastest kid. Now he's saying, no. Let's get that kid at the quarter. Let's train him to throw the football.
Yeah. So that as long as you have that baseline of competency to throw the football, that can be taught. You need that athleticism as a priority piece of quarterbacking.
I mean, think about it. Why does somebody wind up as a wide receiver and the other kid wind up as a quarterback? It's just because in Pop Warner, the coach was like, you're the quarterback. Like you.
Well, when in youth football, even up at the high school, it's usually the best athlete is the quarterback.
Well, that's what needs to be, and much more so. Now, if you don't have the height, but much more so, they're getting those great athletes as the quarterback position. They're teaching them how to throw, and they're going to be on the pipeline. That's what we're going to see coming out. So I think for the next 3 or 4 years, the end, this has nothing to do with the waiver wire, but for the next 3, 4 years, 5 years in the NFL, you'll see more and more of that coming through the college ranks and coming into the NFL, more NFL ready. Unlike what we saw in the past with the runners, which were that the colleges they went to were just there to let them run. Like they're going playing for the Oregon Ducks or whatever. And it was just like,
that's where Herbert went.
What's that?
That's where Justin Herbert
was. He
went.
Throwing or he's just running the wishbone over there? You know what I mean?
No, he was doing both, man. He was good.
He was
That's
throwing.
He was a good prospect.
Teams, they used to have teams, the college offense that would just run the quarterback every time.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
If you have aspirations for the NFL and you're a quarterback, you don't want that team. You want a pro style offense where you can run and use.
Well,
that.
You know what's funny though, because they used to say, "Hey, which college quarterbacks are most pro ready?" Nowadays, more college coaches are getting hired in the NFL, and the NFL is running college style offenses. Cliff Kingsbury in Arizona, when Chip Kelly came in. So more and more, we're seeing this. Matt Rule is running,
but not an exclusively run the
not
quarterback
exclusively.
first.
Yep.
Yeah.
Question for you:
run and gun style.
Biggest surprise of the fantasy season so far for you? Who's surprised you the most?
I want us to talk about positive surprises because negative surprises. I got so many negative surprises.
Not something you were right on, but like, hey, we're just like, oh, you know what? I didn't see that, but hey, that's a surprise. I have definitely one. I'm curious to you. What's one of the things that surprised you the most?
The dominance of Stefon Diggs is a little bit surprising for me. I didn't think that Josh Allen and Stefon Diggs would connect. The whole Allen to Diggs thing, great. But I mean, specifically, either one of them, you could say the dominance of Josh Allen, who's now like a 75% accuracy quarterback. That was a little surprising.
Yeah. I mean, there was room for him to get better. I think from a fantasy perspective, though, you and I are not surprised that Josh Allen, we had him ranked at QB4.
No, not surprised.
The fact that Diggs would be this fantasy relevant, I think, is surprising. But when you look back on it, though, Diggs is a deep ball tracker, and it actually matches up pretty well. I don't think anybody saw it going this well, but yeah, man. I mean, that's been a really good. I mean, if we were redoing our draft today, I mean, Diggs would be no later than an early 3rd round pick. He'd probably go where DJ Moore was going. I
could do I'll throw this at you right now. Top 10 guys: Diggs or Mike Evans.
Yeah, no, you're right. Diggs over all those guys. I mean, Godwin's
Diggs over Julio. Diggs over the only. I mean,
no, you're right.
After Devontae Adams, I'm going to tell you. After Devontae Adams and DeAndre Hopkins are off the board, you could make an argument for Diggs WR3.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly, definitely a top 10, so that makes a lot of sense. The other guy who has surprised me, and we should have seen this coming, we didn't, is it got in my head when we were talking about the Panthers, is that who knew Robbie Anderson was going to be the dominant target guy? And it makes sense that Matt Rule, the head coach that at Temple, was Robbie Anderson's coach in college. Robbie Anderson was the first wide receiver signed in free agency. Everyone was head scratching. Robbie Anderson with Teddy Bridgewater doesn't throw deep balls. And what we're learning is that Robbie Anderson is a really good intermediate route runner. We're seeing it now. And I think he's here to stay. If you picked up Robbie Anderson in week 1, or if you're in a little bit deeper league and you took him in the 14th round, kudos to you. You have an every week, probably going to be a wide receiver 9 to 15 type of finish.
I got on Robbie Anderson late in the best ball season. So
Good.
a few of my last best balls, I was like, what if this guy is such a big play guy? What if he produces? I'd say on the negative side, you could be just as negatively surprised about the ineffectiveness of DJ Moore over there.
They're just not. He's not getting 11, 12. He's not going to end up being a 150 target player like we thought. He's probably going to be more like a 120. So that's not second round worthy. That's more like mid fourth round worthy.
Yeah, fine wide receiver for your team, but not looking like the stud we thought.
Yeah, absolutely. And anything else that pops out for you? Or
I mean, big surprises, a lot at the running back position, just negative surprises about almost all of the running backs.
Yeah. I mean, Eckler was well on his way, though. I'm not taking the loss on Eckler because he got hurt, but I guess.
I mean, Drake has been a disaster. You could just go through him. Josh Jacobs hasn't been great outside of the first game. You could go through the whole thing. Outside of Aaron Jones, beyond that, obviously, Gurley has been, even coming off a good game, doesn't look like anything. Not that that's surprising, but basically the entirety of the first couple of rounds, outside of basically Kamara and Aaron Jones, and maybe you could sprinkle in. I still have hopes for Miles Sanders. I think it's bad matchups, but for the most part, it's been a tough year if you focused heavily on running backs.
Yeah, obviously last night didn't go well for Calvin Ridley, but even though I had expectations for Calvin Ridley, I did not expect him to be wide receiver 1 overall through the first few weeks. But I know a goose egg last night really crushed your soul. You probably lost your matchup because of him. I'm still I think this is a great buy low window for Calvin Ridley if your owner,
especially the matchup this week, and especially with Julio looking.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I'm saying last week you couldn't even start a conversation with the Calvin Ridley owner. He was so happy that he was right, and now he gets a 0. I think at least you can now have a conversation with that person and they're open. Just like 2 weeks ago, somebody approached me about getting Drake. I told him go kick rocks. Now I'm like begging the guy, hey, can we reopen that discussion again? So things like that do drive the market. All right, Geek. Remember that this podcast, the Waiver Wire podcast, is brought to you by our friends over at No House Advantage. There are props for cash site. Go over there, give them a whirl. Use deposit code ARMY. $20 match. You'll get that, and you can play prop betting, which is the future of sports gambling for cash. Anything else to add before we close it out?
Yeah, the very, very important items on the agenda. Number 1, you're watching this Bold Call Waiver Wires podcast. We do Bold Call shows all season long, all off season long. And that's really where the excitement happens. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, to the YouTube.
Wait, stop there. Do it right now. If you're watching this video, you're listening to it, please hit the like button, hit the share, hit the subscribe. It helps us out. So if you're watching on any social media platform, it helps out. That's how we're giving you this value. We're not charging you for it. We don't want to. We love that you're here supporting us. Do that for us. If you're getting value out of this video, share it with somebody else. Now, I know sometimes you don't like to share your fantasy football. Thank you. Look, likes are popping up right as we're doing it. So that's very nice of you. Just hit that like button, subscribe. It makes us feel good that we're, that we're giving you the content that you want. So keep going, Geek. I'm sorry.
I mean, you got to get that. The subscribe is super important because when we go live, the notifications button, it will let you know. We do live streams, so we can take questions live. It's really cool. The other thing, of course, is if you're watching this and you are not currently a DFS Army VIP subscriber, you've got to check it out. If you were a VIP subscriber, you were told to play Robert Tonyan last night in DFS, and you made all the monies. Check my Twitter at Football Geek, where you could check out some of those beautiful screenshots of wins from last night, just for that 2-game contest. It's all about the Tonyan, all about Aaron Rodgers, Aaron. We were all over that. So get signed up as a DFSArmy.com VIP. You can use promo code SAYS to help out Says over here. He gets a little credit. Gets to work another month every time he gets a couple of those. That's how it happens around here. Sign up DFS Army VIP, promo code SAYS. You get a nice discount on your monthly VIP subscription. Every sport is covered. Every site we're crushing. NASCAR, dude, by the way, I came in 7th in NASCAR yesterday, almost first place, almost took another one down. We're crushing it. PGA, NFL still going. MLB is, in the playoffs. The NBA is finishing up. But we're constantly doing something. We've got League of Legends going strong. Everything. It's League of Legends. Did you know it's the World Championships for League of Legends?
I did not know that. I don't keep up on my League.
Know that.
Yep.
Hey, by the way, last night.
Just an editing note is that this is so minor, but earlier in the podcast when we were just kind of going with the $0 what the heck type of guys, I mentioned Reggie Bonifin. Scratch him off the list. I'll take him off. He just went to IR. So again, nothing groundbreaking there.
We hardly knew you, Reggie Bonifin, but for my DFS peoples, that's another little notch up for Mike Davis this week. Yes, please. I call him Christian McCaffrey light.
Yeah, he's like Christian McCaffrey, a system running back.
He's gluten-free, dairy-free Christian McCaffrey. It's not quite as good.
Yeah.
But at some points, if you close your eyes really hard and you distract us, you almost can't tell the difference. Like, what? That's dairy-free ice cream, bro? Kind of tastes like regular ice cream. You know what I mean? You ever have dairy-free? You know what I'm talking about. Little dairy-free ice cream. Says doesn't like that I make comparisons. It hurts him because he's dairy-free.
I'm answering the questions in the chat. Someone just said, "What about Chase Edmonds?" And as you know, he's our number one running back ad for the week. And and by the way,
is okay, guys. Chase Edmonds is not. Don't ump your FAAB. Drake is fine. He just was eating. He was eating some weird spicy food before the game. Took a hit. Stomach ache.
By the way, I do like your joke. Your joke that Mike Davis is the same but different, like gluten-free. I think that is actually it's quite clever.
It was so witty.
I didn't give you the proper co-host laugh, but I did digest it while I was writing, and I think that is actually a clever joke. So I will give you props on it.
All right, there we go. I thought it was really witty. And,
it is witty. What I was doing is I was typing back to the people in the chat.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Gluten-free Christian McCaffrey. If you don't have him on your team, you're fucked because he's on someone else's team, but guy's going to put up points until CM Sizzles comes back. All right, that'll do it, guys. Bold calls, waiver wire, week 5 for season long says at Alan Seslowsky, and for myself, Kevin Allen, aka the Geek at FFootballGeek. We'll see you next week.